Hey guys, welcome back. In this video we'll see how to do ripple animation, and before we start coding, let's just see what are the simple things which is happening in this animation. The first thing is the circular view, which has some opacity and some color, and the next thing is the scaling, where this view is growing from a smaller size to a bigger size and kind of disappearing, and then this animation is kind of repeating itself after doing the scaling. So now let's just clear this off and start building this animation from the scratch. So now I'll just import the animated component, and let's create an animated view, which is nothing but a circular view here. So let's create the circle by styling this view. So I'll give width as 100, height as 100, and border radius as 50, which will create a circular shape for us. And let's have a background color as red. So for now I'll not add any opacity, we'll do it later. So we got our circle. Now let's apply animation. To do that we need animated object. So I'll create an animated object and I'll initialize this with 0. So you do it like this, new animated dot value, and we'll pass 0. So the initial value of this animated object is 0. So now we want to start this animation when the app is loaded, or when this component is loaded. So we do it by overriding component did mount, and here I'll create my animation. So I'll create a timing animation, animated dot timing, and so now I'll just pass the object which I just created, which is in my state. So I could have just passed this dot state dot animated, but instead let me access it in this way, because I'm going to add few more animated objects later on. So now I'll just pass animated, and let me configure it by providing to value and duration. So to value will be 1, because I want my circular view to scale from its 0th size to its original size, that is width as 100 and height as 100. So that's why I've passed two values, 1, and the animation will happen for 1 second. So now I've created my animation. Now let's apply the animation through transform. So in the transform, which takes array as an object, and inside I'll pass a scale object. To this, all I have to do is pass my animated object, which is in my state. So the animation is happening, we see the scaling animation, but the animation is not repeating. So to make our animation repeat, what we'll do is we'll create one more animation called animated.loop, and we'll pass the animated scaling animation which we have done as a parameter to the looping animation. So we don't have to call start on the scaling animation, instead we'll call start on loop animation. So now let's just check that. So now we can see that scaling animation is kind of repeating itself every time. So now I'll just add a little bit of opacity. So it will be a red color, and let's add a transparency of 0.4. Okay, that looks all right. Now we need transparency effect, so we'll create one more animated object. So we'll name it as opacity, and again we need to initialize this object, and here I'm initializing it with 1. That's because I want the view to be visible when the animation is started, and as the animation progresses we want the view to disappear. So the other thing here is we want both the scaling animation as well as the opacity animation to happen together. So we'll create animated.parallel animation. So here this will take as an array as a parameter. So we'll have to pass an array of animations which will be executed at the same time. So here now I've just copied and pasted, and I'll configure it to do the opacity animation. So I'll access the opacity animated object, and I'll pass this, and I'll pass two value as 0, so that will make the opacity to go 0 as the animation progresses. And I have the duration as 1 second for both the animation. Okay, I don't think we are saying the opacity animation yet, and that's because we haven't applied it. So just like how we applied the scale animation, we have to apply the opacity animation by passing the opacity animated object as a parameter to the opacity layout prop. So let's just access that, and now let's just check it. Okay, now you see, so it's looking good, but one ripple is not enough. So let's add one more ripple to it, and I'll do it by nesting the views. So I'll copy this, which is almost the same configuration, same circle it's going to be, and I'll change the color of this circular view. Everything else remains same, but I have to pass a different animated object. So I'll just name it as A2, opacity A2, and animated 2. So I am accessing these objects from the state which I have not created it yet, which I'll be doing shortly. So I'll do the same thing in my component did mount. So let's create the animated objects in the state. So now we have our objects. Let's create one more loop animation for the other circular view which we just created. So I just copied it, and now we have two loop animations, but we need to execute in a different way, though parallel but in a different way. So what I'll do is I'll create a stagger animation, and what it does is it will execute both the animations, which is a loop animation in our case, parallelly but with a certain offset. So that offset is 1 second, as I have passed 1 second as a initial first parameter to the stagger animation. And now I'll pass the loop animations. So this kind of gives that effect that first, or the first the red circular view will do the start with animation, and after some time we'll see the yellow circular view starting to expand and animate. So that kind of gives that ripple effect. So let's just see how this would look. So you can see that there is a yellow ripple coming along with the red ripple. Now I'll just fine tune it by changing the duration, and I'll also change the scaling of these views. So instead of to original size, I'll just increase it, so it will scale by 3 times. Now animation looks good, and you can also see that both animations are executed at different times, which is kind of giving the ripple effect which we wanted. So that's it, guys. We have reached the end of our video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, have fun coding, and thanks for watching.